welcome back to another episode of the Pumpkin Podcast. I'm your host, Calum Beckett, and this channel is proudly sponsored by Dean of the Dead Hot Sauces. Now today is another video interview, and this time, as you can already see, it's with Ash from Scare Directory. Ash, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How's lockdown treating you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Working hard, getting through it, waiting for the new year where things hopefully will get better.
Well, there's the news of the vaccine, isn't there? Which is, obviously, I know you work in like science and all that kind of tech stuff. So are you pro-vaccine?
Absolutely. Get yourself stabbed with the needle as soon as possible is all I can say, really. Get the world back to normal as soon as it can be.
100%. And hopefully we can have some sort of hopefully back to normal next Halloween, because I think that's what we all want, isn't it, Ash?
Oh, yeah, hopefully. And to be honest, I think if things go to plan, there's no reason why we can't be. No. I think, Halloween should be on the cards next year.
100%. So we're going to have a chat with Ash, talk about, obviously we had Mikey on the other week, obviously discussed what events he visited this Halloween season. We're going to do the same with Ash and discuss ones that me and Mikey didn't mention. A few interesting ones Ash has already kind of plugged to me already, so it's going to be an interesting chat. And then at the end we are going to play the Dean of the Dead's Hot Sauce Challenge with another twist, because obviously no one's in the studio, we haven't got the wheel, so it's going to be a little bit different, so stick around for that. And this time Ash actually has some hot sauces himself, so he will be actually playing along, unlike Mikey where it was just me taking the hot sauces if I got the answer wrong. So we will reveal what hot sauces Ash has got at the end of the episode. So yeah, let's crack on. And first of all, mate, I just want to kind of go into Christmas quickly before we go on to Halloween and just discuss, obviously, Scare Kingdom Screen Park have obviously cancelled their Christmas show for this year. Did you expect that?
Oh, 100%. The rules, if you read the rules, there's no way they can open. Whether it's the right decision or not, like in terms of whether they should allow a scare attraction to open, I'd say I feel safer at scare attraction than a supermarket, and I've always said that. And I think it's unfortunate that they get grouped in like the same sector as like theatres and the likes, and I think they're grouped with like safari parks and zoos.
Yeah.
I think if I read it correctly, so unfortunately, they get grouped with that. But I'd say that they're more akin to pop into your local shop with regards to how much interaction you have with people.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. It's understandable. But I kind of expected it. You know, as soon as they announced the rules, I was like, well, it's not going to open, is it? So yeah, just had to accept it. But it's a shame, because I always like a little, Christmas pick me up. It's a nice little bonus after Halloween, really. Yeah,
I was going to say the exact same thing. I think a lot of us here that go to scare attractions as enthusiasts, we love a Christmas scare. I think I remember, don't quote me on this, was it last year? My memory is bad at the moment. Where the Warsaw Christmas party.
Fantastic, wasn't it?
Awesome. Last year, weren't it? It was last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
So good, and I hope we can do something like that again. Maybe next year. It was so fun.
It was. I'll never forget seeing Jake Jones in his pants and only his pants, and I'm still scarred for life from that. But no, it was great. And like I say, it's gutted because I think we all enjoyed ourselves, didn't we? We love a Christmas scare. It's like Halloween season's end, we get the November blues, and then December we get that little bit of fix again of being able to go to scare attractions. Unfortunately not this year, but at least we got to experience something this Halloween season, which is a positive.
Yeah, and hopefully February can go ahead. With the vaccine rolling out, hopefully we can start loosening the restrictions by then, so hopefully some of the Valentine's ones can happen.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed, touch wood. Right, okay, let's get into it then, Ash. Okay, obviously, me and Mikey touched on, I believe you've watched that episode. Obviously, you listened to mine and Mikey's thoughts on some of the events that we visited this year. You obviously visited a few different events. You managed to get to quite a few this Halloween season. Let's kick off with one of the ones that you visited this year and let us know what you thought.
Yeah, so a real mixed bag, I think, this year. And one thing that really was a benefit, really, of this COVID situation was two things. You had small attractions coming out of nowhere that you'd never heard of, never thought of, and I think two of those attractions are both ends of the spectrum as well. So you've had some have just come out of nowhere and they've been absolutely brilliant. And then another was, unfortunately, I think, great idea. And I'll go into a bit more detail in a bit.
Yeah.
It was a great idea, great concept, but I think budget constraints really, unfortunately, let it down. Like it was quite obvious when you arrived about budget constraints.
Yeah.
And then there was a good whole load of in-between ones that have been running for a few years that I managed to get to like the southeast of England, which I've never managed to do for scary stuff.
Yeah.
And because it's miles away. So I managed to do like a weekend around there. And thankfully, because lockdown happened after Halloween, I was able to get to, I think I missed one attraction because it got cancelled, because it turned to tier 3.
Right.
Everything else I wasn't able to either move or work around it, which was, we got lucky. We kind of were running away from the virus when we were.
That's good.
Which was just a happy coincidence, really.
Yeah.
So I'll start with one that's kind of middle of the road,
okay,
and then work along those. So Twycross Zoo created an attraction called Horrors of the Wild.
Okay.
It was a really neat concept. It was about like poachers, and so it fitted in with like the educational aspect of the zoo.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant, great idea. There was some really strong, there was a couple of strong theatrical scenes, but, and this is unfortunately the but, is that it's kind of from there that it started to really peter out. There was a lot of dead space. Dead space that wasn't quite eerie because it was split up with, unfortunately, with like sort of people in high vis,
right,
like, just telling you where to go.
Yeah.
Because it was in the real zoo, and there's certain areas in the zoo you can't go during the night. But I think it's a really good idea, and I really hope that they listen to the feedback of this year and come back next year with an even better offering, because the idea is great. It's a little bit educational, it's scary in places, and you could really make that quite a strong attraction. But I think it, unfortunately, this year just fell a bit flat. And I think that might just be because it's a new attraction, possibly from people who've not been involved in scary attractions much.
Yeah. Do you think it needs fine tuning or some sort of expertise input? Would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Like if someone could just be a consultant, for a few days and just sort of put a few pointers into how they could improve. Where there was one scene with a butcher and he had like meat and stuff, and it was brilliant. It was a really well put together scene, and I think you just need to take all the good bits and then put those together. It's like you had some people with chainsaws, but they were just sound effects. They weren't real chainsaws, and they were just like lurking there, and you saw them all, and it just didn't work. I think it'd be good to ramp it up a little bit, learn from some of the mistakes of this year, and then improve. And I've spoken to others about it who've been, and they kind of had a similar experience as well, in that there was something in it, but it wasn't quite ready.
Right. What was the space like they were working with? What was the space like they were working with?
Huge. It's a whole zoo.
Right.
It genuinely is massive. Which is probably slightly their downfall, I think, a little bit, in that you are walking around almost the whole zoo during the experience.
So do you think to make something like that so big, obviously filling probably is an issue? Was there a lot? Obviously, you mentioned dead space. Do you think that was, again, you mentioned things to their downfall? Sometimes too much, unless you've got a massive budget to fill all that space, it can come across as a bit flat, even though it may not be flat if it was condensed. Because it was so spread out and big, everyone's walking around going, they could do this there, they could do that there. But again, obviously, it's budget permitting that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the sheer number of people they had, actually. They had a lot of people. So if you were to condense that into a smaller area, and advertise it as a shorter attraction. So I think it was advertised as being like an hour and a half.
Okay.
But in reality, it's about 20-25 minutes, I think, from memory. And I think that was, again, maybe being a bit overambitious. Thinking, this is going to be amazing and we're going to be able to do all this. And I think they have the right ideas, but, there's probably lots of things that get in the way of these sort of things, into creating what they had in their head.
Yeah.
But I hope it comes back, in all honesty. I think it's one that I would try again, and, I'd give them a chance and see what they came back with next year. So I wouldn't rule it out, absolutely. I think it's just needs a bit of nurture, really, to get it to that.
Well, it's good. It's good that you've got some sort of positive words to say about it, especially with it being the first year of it. Like I say, fine tune it, come back next year. Obviously they're going to be taking constructive criticism on board, which is what scare attractions need to do to improve and move forward the next year. So, good chat on that.
Yeah, Ash. I really hope so. So, the next one on the list was an absolute surprise. That's the Sessions House of Horror in Spalding, part of the world I've never been to, didn't know anything about, but just the setting. So you arrive, it's this massive like old courthouse. It's lit up in red. It's like looks quite imposing as you arrive. So you're already like, oh, this is looking good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you queue up, you go in, and then first thing we had was how they managed to get groups of different bubbles through at the same time. So they gave us a rope, which was 2 meters from where one group ended and the other group began.
Okay.
And you held on to that throughout the whole attraction, which you'd think would get in the way, and it didn't at all. It completely worked, and it enabled us to keep our 2 meters apart from the other bubble while moving around. And what they did is every now and again they rotated. So if you were at the back, you then became the front.
Right. Okay.
So that worked really well. And then it was very much more in the theatrical rather than pure jump scare attraction. Mm-hmm. So you went through scene. There was a bit of an escape room aspect to one area as well, which was a nice little touch. This is what was interesting. There was a blindfolded section, but compared to some other attractions I've been to, you saw...
Not mentioning any names, Ash.
Sorry?
Not mentioning any names.
So I'm just going to go into
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so they were clearly clean. Before you even got given them, they sprayed them with another bit of disinfectant as well, just to give you that reassurance.
Yeah.
We had to sanitize our hands before we put the face masks on. So that was fine. Really cool effect as you were going around the blindfolded bit. Like you could hear, it was almost as if they were smashing plates or smashing glass. Now, I don't think they actually were, but it felt like there was like glass like falling around you, and it felt like you were stepping on it.
Right, okay, cool.
As you were going around, which was a really quite a cool effect. And then again, when you took the blindfold off, it was very clear. Like you took it off, and you could see someone making sure that they were going away and not getting in the batch of clean ones ready.
Yeah.
So I felt confident that and the fact we had hand sanitized again afterwards. So I felt confident that I wasn't going to get the risk was quite low of touching the rope.
Yep.
Because I'd hand sanitized beforehand, and it was very enforced. And I think from memory they put it as part of the storyline as well. You want to clean your soul or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you touch the rope, and again, I think they go to hand sanitize when you got to the end. And then because it was an old courthouse, they were able to use the court itself, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
as you can imagine, there's a lot you can do in a courtroom. And also they were able to use the cells, which I'm a sucker for, a real like prison cell, and you can do so much in terms of scares with a prison cell.
Yeah.
And again, worked really, really well. So I can't wait for them to come back next year and see what they do, because I think that was top notch. It
Awesome.
was probably one of the highlights of the season for me.
Right, wow. I think you nailed it on that. I need to visit there next year. I didn't get to any place kind of down south this year, obviously due to COVID and travel restrictions and work and stuff. So I mean, it's great to hear events like that. I mean, some of the stuff in there I've not heard of being done before, so it's quite cool that they've kind of been a first to do that, really. So it'd be great to go and visit there next year, and that's definitely one I think I'm going to put on my list.
Yeah, it's a shame it's so far. Like from you guys, it's probably a good 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
It's a long way. It's a long way from me as well. So it's worth it. But I'd say there's a few other things around there. So make a weekend of it if you're going to do it.
100%.
And that's what we did. I was able to cram in a few others, so other ones around that area. And unfortunately, Nightmares in Norfolk was the next one on the list.
Before we get onto that one, the first 2 attractions that you've mentioned, let's score them out of 10.
Okay. So Stephen and I went to most of these attractions, so we've sort of consulted each other on these scores.
Yeah.
And Horrors of the Wild, we gave at Twycross Zoo, we gave a 5.
Okay.
So that's acknowledging that there was something in it, but it could be better.
100%. I think it's a fair
Sessions
score.
House of Horrors, we gave a 9.
Okay.
So I think that gives you an idea of how much we enjoyed that one.
Wow, 9.
Yeah, there's no 10. I can't give a 10. I think there's very few attractions I'll ever give a 10 to.
Yeah, agreed. There's always something you can pick out. Unless it's Scream Camp.
I don't know. I'm too tough. I wouldn't give it. I don't want to give a 10 to anything.
I think he's forgetting he's coming visiting Scream Camp next year, so I'll remember that, don't worry.
Oh yeah. You'll definitely remember that.
Next up.
Cool. Nightmares in Norfolk, and that's where I was talking about where I think possibly budgetary constraints. And I'm very aware that they had problems with weather as well. So I think they were meant to use a few more marquees and stuff, and I think they had issues and that they were only able to use one in the end.
Yeah.
So I think that affected it a lot. This is where I think it's a real shame. I felt the acting quality in that attraction was really, really good.
Oh, that's good.
And there's like a set scene where you had like it was like Jason, and then you had like they were around the campfire. So have you heard about the serial killer Jason? Blah blah blah. And then he came out of nowhere, and then he attacked the girl and stuff. And that was quite good and good, neat idea. But the whole event took about 3 minutes to go around, and I think if we had travelled just for that, I wouldn't have been overly happy. It was about £10, so I was like, while it wasn't crazy money, I think if I'd have travelled, like, say, an hour plus for it, I wouldn't have been happy. But saying that, the heart was in the right place again. I think there's definitely something in it.
Yeah.
And again, I wouldn't rule them out. I wouldn't just go to just that attraction. But if I was able to go, like we did Spalding and that one in the same night, so I was able to, just compare it. And going to both, it wasn't too much trouble because they're down the road from each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely needs some work. The actors tried their best with what they had, and I think they did what they had with the budget they had and the space they had. But sadly, it ended up being a bit of a downer. But that doesn't rule it out from next year. I think it just needs a little bit of TLC, and it could become something. I think the heart's in the right place for that one.
Are you going to go back next year?
If I'm in the area, I wouldn't travel a huge amount for it, but if I go to Sessions House and Nightmares in Norfolk's the same night, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would give it a go, and I think they mentioned they're going to try a different location next year, which again might work well because it was kind of next to an A road, and you could just see the cars whizzing by as you were walking around. 'Cause it's outside, and it just kind of ruined the illusion a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine that bit ruining it a little bit. So a score out of 10. Let me guess your score. Let me guess your score. I'm gonna go with a 3.
I gave it a 1.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I tell you what, I thought I was tough with scoring, but wow, Ash, you're another level, buddy.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I had to like I've got to think if I was like just the general public going to that event, and I just feel like I'd wasted £10.
Wow.
If I was the general public, I think, which is a shame because, as I say, the heart's in it and there's definitely something in it. So I'm not going to rule it out next year, and I really hope I can go and I can report that it was good and they learned from what happened this year and it became a great attraction. So I'm not going to rule it out because there was definitely, I felt there was a little something in it. Sadly.
A large Big Mac meal and a milkshake instead to spend your £10 on?
Oh, yeah.
No hesitation from Ash. Oh, next on your list, buddy.
Pleasurewood Chills. Now that's been running for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And I believe Atmosphere has been involved in some of those mazes in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The mazes were great. I think they were really fun. They had a good introduction. There's 2 mazes. You had Hobbs, which was like a kind of mine type thing, and then you had like a Hell Express, and that was like a railway carriage. Both really neat concepts, quite long mazes. I actually went on my own to that one, and the way they were batching you meant that you got to go through the attraction on your own.
Right.
And they were batching so there was never anyone else in the attraction.
That's
so
good.
You never had any bunching issues or catching up with anyone. That just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So real credit, and they really got points for that because
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like being able to get the attention of the actors.
But you know what? I personally feel that a lot of people have done that this year, but I know it boils down to numbers, and people obviously, depending on how busy the event is, they need to get as many people through as possible, and I understand that. However, for me, batching is one of the main key ingredients to running a successful scare attraction. I think if your batching's on point, your guests are going to enjoy themselves more. That's just my opinion, and I think if more people kind of focus on the batching, instead of trying to get people through like a colony of ants, I think you'll get a lot better feedback from reviewers, from the public, if they go through in their specific, call it a bubble. I personally feel that, I think that would work better all around. What do you think, Ash?
I think so. Now, that's the one thing I've got to raise about Pleasurewood Chills. Now, the mazes were excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely can't fault them. But what it did cause was very, very, very long queues.
Yeah. Which is the issue.
It's a theme park. I wanted to get on, I've never been to Pleasurewood Hills before. I wanted to get on all the rides as well. To go on 2 mazes, it took me 3 hours.
Jesus.
Which is a shame. And if I was going for a day out, I'd have been quite disappointed that I only got round those mazes. But as I was going for the mazes, I was quite happy, to be honest.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself. I got on the rides that I wanted to. I've gone on all the roller coasters and stuff. So, I got an okay day out of it. But I think, and you could tell that sadly some of the public were a bit miffed by the, by the old, queuing for a long time. So it's a shame. As someone who likes scare attractions, I saw the benefit when I went through.
Well, here's a question. Here's a question for you, Ash. So obviously, batching in your group and sending your group through to experience the event is going to be a better experience for you and whoever you're with. Agree?
Agree. Yeah.
However, it is going to cause queues. That's facts. That's facts. So, just out of curiosity, would you like to go through having waited longer in a queue and have a better experience, or wait shorter in a queue and potentially not have as good an experience?
Oh, longer in a queue, hands down. As long as you plan your attraction around it. So, say it was a big event with multiple mazes, as long as you can get through everything within that queue time, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like, if it starts at 6 and ends at 11, great. As long as I can get through everything, I don't mind how long I'm waiting, to be honest. And you'd always have options at those places for like fast tracks and whatnot.
Of course, yeah.
If you didn't want to queue, then you have an option. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, completely okay with that. And to be honest, I've got to give them credit. It was a Friday and half term. It was full of kids, kids going through the mazes as well. So, they were rammed. They were busy. So, I've got to give them it is a busy half term day. Any attraction that's like in that kind of area would be busy. Yeah. So I've got to. So I've taken that into account when I scored it as well, because I don't think it's overly their fault. I think it's just the nature of the beast. Busy half term day. It's what happens. So
what do you score it then?
I scored it an 8.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought the mazes were really good fun, and I thought the mazes were great, and that was really what I was focusing that score. And if I was to score the whole day, I'd probably bring that down a little bit.
Right. Okay.
But I'm focusing on the scare attractions there, and what I did go through, and the fact I went on my own, and we were batching the bubbles. Yeah. Was great, and it was fantastic, and good scares, good storylines, good theming. Yeah, solid event.
Brilliant, fantastic. And like I say, if you would have gone potentially on a quieter day, you might have had a better experience overall.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've got to say, it's £5 for 2 mazes, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah. So I think when you look at that price point, it's kind of that balance between price point and the experience, and that's what makes it score so highly. Really, I think for £5, 2 mazes, bargain.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So next up on the list.
So that's FestEvil. So that's the poor event that was in Wales. Then, because Wales went into lockdown, they then had to move to England for 2 days, at which point they had to close again. I was lucky in that we were just able to squeeze it in just before the English lockdown came in. Mm-hmm. So I could just get it in, and yeah, it was. Having been to all three of the drive-thrus, I think they all offered something different. I'd say it's really interesting to see three people coming to an idea that's fairly new, not overly well documented or experienced in the UK, and they all came up with something different, and I think each one had something strong going for it. FestEvil, I liked how FestEvil went from scene to scene to scene to scene. You had like no driving in between. That worked really well. It kept like the intensity up. And one thing that I really liked is they have an alien scene. That was like an alien abduction, bright lights, two aliens appeared. If they could have made your car move or made it feel like you were going up into a spaceship, that would have been superb.
Wow. Not what I much there, Ash.
But what they did with the effect was really well done. I've not seen aliens done particularly, not that often, apart from like the kind of like, the alien films.
I don't know why.
I've not seen like.
I don't know why, because aliens are great.
Yeah, cornfields, aliens. You could make it work, couldn't you?
100%.
Yeah, I think the costume. Because like you looked at the costumes and you're like, yeah, you can tell it's a costume because I think you'd have to pay a lot to get a really good alien costume.
Yeah.
I think that's where the challenge might be. But yeah, it worked. It was so simple. It was like just wooden slats and bright light, and then the aliens appeared. But boy, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great scene, and it was an overall really good attraction. And I don't want to sort of go through all the scenes just because it will probably it's coming back next year, and they'll probably reuse a few of them and redevelop them a little bit. So I'm not going to spoil it, but the alien stuff, absolutely fantastic.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know? Well, I say a secret. Secret. Do you want to know a secret? Obviously Screen Camp The Ritual last year?
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to open a drive-through horror maze last year. That was my initial.
Really?
That was my initial thought last year, and I just swindled away from the idea and did The Ritual instead. But that was my initial thought process: is doing a drive-through horror. And then I thought, you know what, I'll probably put it off because it's not been done before. I thought I always like thinking outside the box and making events that I haven't been done before. I think that's how you create award-winning events. But I said them this year, and 3 of them popped up, and I'm thinking, oh, missed the boat there, haven't I? Missed the boat.
You could always do it. There's nothing stopping you.
No. We'll see. We'll see. I've got a few other things in the pipeline, so we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, FestEvil, what do you rate it?
7 for that. It was solid. It was good. I think it's worth highlighting that on our visit, it had suffered wind damage, so I don't think all props and all scenery were in place when we went through. So our experience would give a 7, but it was definitely a good aim and well worth money. I think it's about £30. You fill your car up. I think that's really good and worth it in my eyes.
Especially when you can imagine what is it, about £6 a person, depending on how many you got in there. It's good value.
Yeah, it really is. I think we went through 3 of us, and we felt we got value for money when we went through it. So that was really good.
On to the next one.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm just rattling these off, but it's a long old list.
It is a long list.
Great Yarmouth Pleasure Beach presents Fairground Frights. So that was a new attempt at an attraction. And what was really interesting with that one is they used previously standing things. So they used the ghost train and they used the funhouse. Okay. And literally just chucked actors in there. The ghost train worked really well. It's almost as if it was designed to have actors in. Because I've never been to Great Yarmouth before. Their ghost train had drop boxes in it.
Right.
And it didn't look like that had been added just for this event. So I don't know why they're there or whether they were able to take a wall out and change something, but it worked. And it worked really well. And the good thing was, because it was quite quiet, I went around that ghost train over and over again. And each time they managed to get slightly different scares. And if they recognised me as well, there's always like, you again. Like they were able to play up to that, which is always good fun, because I think it's kind of like a hotel. Yeah. So you're going around like a haunted hotel, is like the concept. Really good fun. I'd say it's more of a family friendly attraction. Okay. That's no bad thing. but it's good. I think it's really reasonable, and you got to go on all the rides as well. I do have to mention one thing though, and it wasn't so noticeable in Ghost Train because you were sat in your car. But in the Funhouse one, absolutely brilliant. Again, improvisational skills of the actors was on point.
Yeah.
And they used the space really well. There's about 5 or 6 clowns in there, I think. And if there was no one in the maze, they would just gang up on you and just torment you from every angle.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But I do have to say that unfortunately they weren't there wearing masks. And in this situation, it feels wrong. And I'm not quite sure why they didn't, if I'm being honest. It was just a surprise. And it has to be noted.
It is, and it's a shame because we sound like broken records nitpicking this kind of stuff, which should be completely irrelevant. But unfortunately, this year it's not irrelevant. It wasn't irrelevant, and it's something that you have to mention. Because if people, big thing was this year, if places were going to open, they have to have sanitizers. That's right. Everyone has to wear masks. There was procedures in place, and for someone not to have masks on, a bit of a no.
Yeah, and I'd love to know if there's a reason why, if there's whether it's sufficiently ventilated or something. I don't know, and I can't make that judgment. I didn't see the risk assessment. I don't know, but it was just an observation I made, and we mentioned it in our review as well. And the hand sanitizer was fine. That was made sure we did that. Everything else was fine. It was just a surprise that they didn't have their masks on.
Maybe they're all exempt.
The operators and stuff did.
Maybe they're all exempt.
That would be a bit of a coincidence, wouldn't it?
It really would, yeah.
But it was just an odd observation. But generally, overall, I think it was a good first year event.
Yep.
And one I will probably go back to be honest, because I think what they did with the space, it was quite nice that they knew everything on the rides. It was quite reasonable. It was about 3 or 4 hours of the evening. It was good fun. And fun for all the family. I think they did fancy dress for families, and there was roaming actors as well, which were really good fun in the sense that they'd get on rides with you and stuff. Cool. So if you're on the ride, you might have an actor just randomly obviously socially distanced on a roller coaster. Yeah. They might be just a few cars back and stuff. It was just it's like they took over the park, which was quite good fun.
That sounds good. And what were we rating that?
Yeah, I'd give it a 7.
Okay.
Even though they didn't have the masks, it's a tough one because I had so much fun.
Yeah.
That I know I shouldn't overlook the masks.
Yeah.
I kind of did.
Yeah.
Because it was a really enjoyable event. It has to be noted, and I can't not say anything about them, but it was enjoyable. It was great fun.
Yeah.
I just came out smiling. It was just a bit silly, a bit tongue in cheek, but great.
Those events.
The clown was just he's like, what's your name? I was like, Ashley. And then every time I'm around, I was like, Ashley, do you want to lick my ice cream? He was insistent. It's like, where are you going? Don't leave me. It's your ice cream.
But you know what? Those events that you go out and you remember funny things, stick with you. I think scare and comedy go hand in hand together, but they've got to be done correctly. And like I say, you've gone there, you know what, I enjoyed myself, I came out smiling. So if you go out an event, you come out smiling, you might not have had the scariest night in the world, but if you come out smiling and you enjoyed yourself, that's the main thing, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Absolutely, and it was just a good night out. And for all the family, I'd say anyone sort of age 10 and up would have had fun. It wasn't gory. It was just a few scares, a few things made you jump, and just fun and silly. And it was great. I loved it.
So Tim Deeves could have come then, yeah?
Yeah, he'd have had a good time.
Okay, what we on next?
Survival Zone in Weymouth.
Okay.
Which blew me away. It was based in a fort in Weymouth. Right by the seafront, miles and miles away. It takes a 2-hour drive for me, so it's close, but it takes ages. Mm-hmm. In a fort, it was just brilliant in that it was in a fort. They took you through the tunnels under the fort, and the whole thing was based a couple of years after COVID, but something wasn't quite right, and these zombies kind of still existed.
Right.
And there was an infection going around, and they took you around these different, so it was quite actor-led. was like set scenes, like they took you to like the morgue, and then they took you to like presentation where they sort of showed you the slowly decomposing bodies, and the props were like movie quality. And that's because the company behind it do movie props and stuff. And yeah, so it just took on this story as things just built in intensity as you went round. So you had your guide of like a police officer guided you round, and yeah, so he was guided around by the police officer, and yeah, he just had his take on the story and why it had happened, and it was like from his perspective. And it just every scene was built in intensity. They used the space of the like corridors well, and considering they were able to do all this by keeping socially distanced with masks, and you know, it was brilliant. So like, yeah, some of the scares were just really innovative, and all three of us came out of that just absolutely blown away at how good it was for a first year event. Quite different. So we were expecting, when it's a zombie survival zone, I was expecting like the usual, like shooting zombies or run away from zombies. It's kind of neither of those. Like we didn't really run ever, but there was still that fear of like the threat of the zombies. And I think the fact there was more to it than just like zombies made it such a good event. And what was really quite happy, because basically some of our group couldn't make it, so we ended up going through twice. And what's really nice is you can get a different actor take you round, and you get a slightly different storyline. So the first time we had a police officer, the second time we had a like researcher, scientist person, and so you get a different take on the same story from a different angle. And talking to the guys afterwards, they were saying that they want replayability, so they want to come back next year and they want to go a bit more extreme, and they want to make it a bit more intense and stuff, which is great. But they also want, if they were to keep the same story, they could just say, oh, so who took you around last year? And then they could just, you know, have one of the other actors take you around, and you'd get a different experience, even though it's essentially the same. It's a really good way of getting re-rideability on something that is, you know, one maze. But that's really good event, and
that's good that they give you that option to kind of they adapt themselves, haven't they, to give guests a different experience each time, which is good because, like I say, it gives you now the option to go, hey, if I go back now and make another 2-hour trip, then I'm going to potentially get a different experience. So you're probably going to go back next year. I mean, I personally am not a massive fan of zombies. Never have been a big fan of zombies because like they're all quite cliche. But for what you've just described there, sounds like a quite fun event, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't like your normal zombie event. Now, because I can agree with you on that one. Like, I do zombie events. I do enjoy them, but I'm never as motivated to go to a zombie event as I am, say, your more traditional scare attraction. And yeah, they really surprised me with what a zombie event could be. And I maybe shouldn't be so harsh and try a few more zombie events, to be honest. So yeah, it was good. It was really good.
So out of 10.
I gave that a 9.
Oh, wow.
It was, 9 because it was good and the potential's there to get even better. And so it was fantastic.
Brilliant. That's a very, very good score from Ash. So next up on the list.
I'm coming to the end of the ones that we did that Mikey didn't. So there's a huge chunk here that Mikey went to as well. So I'm going to avoid those because you've already had it on the show. I don't need to sort of go into the detail of those again. So the next one is the other drive-through that wasn't talked about, hasn't been talked about yet, and that was Fairfield. So up in Skipton. So that was a long old drive up north. But what was really interesting, it was long. So I think start to finish was about 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, and I felt that throughout that you had constant. So yes, it was spaced out, but you had constant enjoyment all the way through. From every scene really, and what they was quite nice is between scenes they'd have little huts where an actor would come out and give you some form of interaction. What I liked about that one is you had your windows down, so you could really hear what the actors were saying. But you were still safe inside your car. And yeah, they used, and one other thing is it had a narrative, and that's one thing I felt the other two didn't have, and that was the storyline that took you through and why why there were people that were like not quite right, you know, like why they were acting a bit funny. You know, it was the idea about this hospital and things had gone a bit awry in the hospital. It was, and that kind of existed throughout probably I'd say the first half, and then you went through a few other scenes like a zombie scene, it was like the end of the world type scene, and then like clowns. Yeah. And the clowns were brilliant. They used props. Like in the same way they like Toxic Junkyard. Like they use props, but they're able to put the props in your car.
Right.
So you had like these really, you know, like soft like mallets and stuff just coming in your window, and obviously it's stationary, but it works really well, and it was a really good scare tactic. It's just like, whoa, what's that? It's just suddenly in your face. So yeah, really enjoyed Fairfields, and I think it was quite interesting that one's obviously was where Screenfields was going to be. And it kind of gave me hope for what Screenfields might end up being if that can go ahead next year, because there was some good quality actors there, and it showed some really good ideas around a really huge site, to be honest.
Did you see
lots of fun?
Did you see any mazes that were obviously set up that were supposed to go active this year? Did you see anything when you were there?
No, the only thing we saw is like the Greenfields logo was on one of their hats, so I assume they've used some of the same props.
Right.
But no, there was nothing obvious. Like in my car, I sat there and I was like, I couldn't see how you'd fit. It must be in a different area. It's like a huge bit of land.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if they'd use a different part of the site or whatever to make this happen. But generally it was really, really strong. And I think, personally, it was the best of the drive-thrus as well.
You know what, because it's interesting you say that, because I think they were potentially one of the last ones to announce, because I remember they were going to open Screenfields up until not too long before October, if you remember rightly.
And yeah, like, who knows, some of the ideas that were in the drive-thru might have been ideas from the mazes.
Yeah.
Like that concept of that hospital might well have been a maze idea that was adapted to work in a drive-thru environment. Like, you know, I haven't spoken to anyone from it in any detail, so I'm not entirely sure. But it was a really good first attempt. And actually, considering it was probably the least well covered of the three, in terms of like marketing or just people visiting it, from the things I've read, I think it was actually the best, and I'm glad I made it. It's you know, all the way through tier 3. So you know, we stayed in tier 2 below it. We drove through it, got to tier 2 the other side, did the event, and then drove all the way back through it, and then stayed in tier 2. So it was worth the long there and back trip just to get it done during the situation. But yeah, absolutely brilliant fun.
So I'm interested to know your score on this.
Gave it an 8.
I said 9. I just said 9. I got it wrong. I thought you were going to give that a 9. You were bigging that up big time then.
No, not quite a 9, but it was definitely a strong 8. It was a good 8.
Well,
and good. I think on the list there, I have 2 more.
Cool.
And one is one that I didn't go to, so I'm not going to be able to tell you much about it, but it's definitely worth a mention. So Stephen, our other reviewer of the Scare Directory, visited something called Halloween Scarefest at Waddingworth Maize Maze. This was for one night only. For £10, you got a 45-minute walk around their maze maze, as well as food and drink included in that. And what Stephen said to me is it was a charming event. So it was a small farm park that put on this event with essentially probably people that just work on the farm, acting in it. And they had you had to go around and you had to get clues from the actors. They got some quite substantial jump scares in there as well, and you literally left for 45 minutes roaming a genuine maze. So it wasn't a linear route; it was a maze, and you would get lost in it.
Wow.
And yes, Stephen said he had a really good time, and I think it's worth shouting out that a new attraction that is clearly just on a farm that runs a family, like pick your own in the day and all that sort of stuff, it was just a real good first attempt at just a fun evening. I think Stephen said that it was like a little campfire, and there was really, and the food wasn't just rubbish food. It was like gourmet, sausage roll type things. They weren't just like a Greg's sausage roll. It was something a bit more substantial.
Hey, what's wrong with the Greg's sausage roll?
Sorry, you broke up there. What was that?
I said, what's wrong with the Greg's sausage roll?
Nothing at all. But when you go to like an attraction, you don't expect like some gourmet kind of sausage roll, do you? It was a pleasant surprise. And
here's one for you, Ash. Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Do you think? Imagine a maze, right? Imagine, if you remember Harry Potter, right, and the Goblet of Fire, that maze. Do you think that alone would work as a scare attraction?
What, Harry Potter?
No, I mean a maze like the one in Harry Potter where it's massive, like really tall hedges, and it's just like one massive sort of maze where people have to walk through. But obviously there's actors in there that are chasing people around, but it takes you a good half an hour to get through the maze. Are you with me? Or do you think people would lose interest after 10 minutes?
And you could use an already existing maze as well.
Yes.
I think. So I hate mazes. I was just going to say. So, it's a bit. I just think just walking around with no aim really, because you don't know where you're going. But I think you could make it work. I think you'd have to have some way of stopping it just getting congested.
Yeah.
But I think it could work. I think you'd have to at some point have a way of like getting people on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
But you could work, yeah. I think surprises around every corner, things that make you jump. I think you could do it. I think you could do it amazing. You got lost in.
Yeah.
In a non-COVID world.
Yeah. Having people obviously
the
choose their route as well. If people choose their route when they go around it, so they choose which way they go. The standard sort of deaf safety signs, and they choose which way they want to go. I think that could potentially work.
I like the choices.
Yeah.
I like the idea of making choices at a turn.
Yeah.
Because you could have a different actually either way, and it. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, I think something like Longley or somewhere like that has a substantial maze in it.
Yeah.
Could do something like that quite easily. I think there's something in that.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you think down, if you sit down and think of ideas, I think it's something which could work well as a standalone attraction. I think as an event where people will go and actually just do that one attraction. Yeah, just food for thought. Trademarked.
Yeah.
Pumpkin podcast.
I think you'd have to really test it, because I think it could fail big time. I think you could have lots of people getting lost, frustrated, and not getting any scares if you got it wrong.
Yes, 100%. It'd have to be full of actors. Full of actors.
But if you got it right, I think there's something in it if you got it right.
I mean, a bit like
bushes.
You got me thinking. A bit like a subspecies vibe where it's full contact in that maze, so you are pulled off in that maze away from your group and taken off. I think little things like that would work. It'd work, wouldn't it?
I'd be sold on that.
Yeah, literally just take them through, and then this actor runs off with your mate, and then the person behind gets picked up. We're sat here just having a normal discussion about scare mazes.
Yeah, because you could some mazes are like watchtowers, and you could take that person up to the watchtower and show off to everyone else.
100%.
Someone.
Yeah. So these ideas, isn't there? We're gonna have people nicking ideas now, right? What score are we giving? Did Steve give that?
So this is Stephen's score, not mine, but he gave it a good solid 7.
Okay.
Because it was just a pleasant surprise. It wasn't what he expected. It was good value for money, and good 45 minutes of fun.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I've got one more that Mikey didn't mention, and that's Fear Island at Fantasy Island.
Okay. Atmosphere Run event.
Atmosphere Run event, and 3 very, very solid mazes. Now, I do have to note that there was a lots of things in faces as you went around.
Mm-hmm.
Hand sanitizer was enforced from memory, but there was a lot of touch points as you went around it, which was just a bit surprising. But the mazes were so strong that it didn't detract from it, and the fact we sanitised them. And before one of them, it was very clear that they kind of shut down quite regularly for a deep clean, because they sort of said, "Oh, we're going to take a while. You're going to have to wait a little bit. We've got to just go around and clean everything." So I did have that confidence that it wasn't, it was, looked after, and they did the right thing with regards to keeping it clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just worth noting there was lots of things in place and stuff. But yeah, each maze was different. Each maze had something like, there was something unique and enjoyable about each one. Really good solid jump scares. No batching issues. You never bumped into anyone, and the theming was superb. It was like atmosphere level. So the sort of thing you'd expect to see at Scare Kingdom. It was very detailed, very solid scares, and it was just quite. It's amazing that like one of them's built in an old McDonald's. So it's a really fun attraction, and I really enjoyed it. But standout things were I think Disturbium or Disturb I Am. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced, but that was the first one we did, and that was a standout one for me. It's just jump scare after jump scare and intensity throughout, and it was quite dark. But the actors managed to hit you multiple times as you went around, getting scares from all different angles, which I thought was really enjoyable, and really really works as an attraction. So really got to say that to be honest, these are all the ones sort of to that sort of southeast area of the UK. So I might be just hyping these because I've never been before, and it was the idea that they were brand new to me. But had a great time and really enjoyed it. Again, good value for money. You're there, you've got an amusement park, you've got these scares, and you do have a circus show, which was all right. It was an enjoyable family circus show, and it was that was like an extra £5 or whatever, and that was good fun. So very good fun event, I think, at Fear Island.
So out of 10.
So I gave that one a 7.
Okay.
I think very well-rounded event, really. And that's my list that Mikey didn't cover. So and I think, to be honest, on ones that Mikey did touch on, I think we pretty much completely agreed. In kind of roughly around scoring and kind of experience as well. The pros and cons of that. Like Alton Towers being absolutely fantastic, for example. It was a good year for us.
Well, we won't fully go into all the other attractions.
No,
because there's a few controversial ones on the last episode. So we will leave that one there. But Ash, thank you very much for that. Very good chat. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed listening to Ash's experience of his Halloween season 2020. But now it's time to play the Twisted Up Day of the Dead Wheelie Hot Sauce Challenge. Now, Ash has actually got 3 of his own hot sauces. Do you want to give us a show, Ash? Ash is gone. I have to get Ash back. Give us a moment. Oh wait, he's back. Are you back?
I think I'm back. Yeah,
he's
I
back.
think what happened there.
He disappeared. He's back. That was quick. That was like magic, wasn't it? So show us your 3 hot sauces, Ash, that you've got on your end.
So we'll start at the mild end. I've got Dr. Benorium's Psycho Juice Habanero. So that's the easy one, really.
There you go, the easy one.
And then we work up the hot sauce scale, and then we've got Scorpion Pepper.
Okay.
And that one, they've put 3 X's on it, and it is 52% Trinidad Scorpion. Then you've got this one, which isn't overly fun, and this is a Ghost Pepper one. And that one is 70% Naga Ghost Pepper.
Now,
with a few other bits.
A few of you might recognise that one when Dean came on the channel at Halloween. He brought those hot sauces, if everyone remembers that episode, and it blew my head off. Well, yeah, it's that one. So good luck with that, Ash. So we're twisting up a little bit. Right, let me find my mobile cellular device. Give me 1 second. Let's call it a mobile cellular device.
Welcome to 2020.
Exactly. Okay, so the rules this time are as follows. It's a 50-50 choice, okay? Now, I have picked the answer in which I think Ash is going to choose. So I'm going to give him a choice of 2 scare attractions each time. I've already picked the answer I think Ash is going to pick. Now, if I'm right, Ash has to have a hot sauce. If I'm wrong, well, the Dean of the Dead's really hot sauce are down there. Have you got the aim of the game, Ash?
Yep, absolutely.
Fan-diddly-astic. Okay. So, the first one is... So what I'll do is I'll name the 2, you tell me, then I will tell you what I chose. So, Towers or Thorpe Park?
This year?
Overall. If you had to choose an event to go to, Towers or Thorpe?
Towers.
I was correct. I put Towers. So you've got to have... I'm going to go. So Ash has got 3. They're all mild, medium and hot. I'll start you off with a medium, Ash.
I am doing this. I will show it to prove that I'm doing...
Make sure you do. Oh, there you go. Look at that bottle. Oh! Let's go. What's that like? Is it nice?
It's hot.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's very hot.
My mouth's watering.
I'll be crying by the end of this.
So, next up, Extreme or Scare Kingdom Scream Park?
You know I'm going to pick Scare Kingdom for that one, don't you?
So I put Extreme.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought you'd prefer.
Hot sauce for you then.
I thought you'd prefer Extreme. Damn. Right. I can't believe that. Right, what am I having?
Ooh, I can't remember what's hotter than the other. I'm going to go just sauce.
Sauce is the lowest one.
Oh, I'll go for sauce. That'd be nice.
Oh, okay. Sauce. So for those who haven't watched before, which I'm assuming you probably all watched if you've gotten this far, the Dean of the Dead's sauces are all named after different horror movies. So this one's called Sauce. They all go up in different spices. So this is just 1 chilli and they go all the way up to 6 chilies. So this one is jalapenos and apples. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
That's actually really nice. Okay, next up. Walsall Scare Maze or Farmageddon?
Oh, Walsall, hands down.
I chose Walsall.
Hot sauce for me then.
Hot. I'm going to go with the hottest one.
Oh, I'm already in pain.
The hottest one, let's go.
Hot one.
Is that the hottest one?
Yeah, that's the ghost pepper one.
Oh, look at that. Rather you than me.
Yeah, this. I stuck it on a pizza a few weeks ago, and that was a mistake.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how hot's that?
I'd say it's about the 3rd hottest thing I've eaten.
Wow, really?
I've eaten ghost chili wings, and they were literally horrible. But yeah, that's probably the 3rd hottest I remember having.
How do you cope with your hot sauces?
Pardon?
How do you cope with your hot sauces?
I just start sweating. Yeah, I don't like choke or anything or get hiccups like some people. I just get very hot and my eyes will start watering and I'll be crying by the
Do you not think hot sauce and like horror and scare attractions, they all go as one?
I think it's the adrenaline.
Do you think?
So like there's a release, like when you have hot food, there's that release of like I don't know, endorphins or something. Like
yeah.
You crave more.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if you don't particularly like it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want the next hit. Yeah.
Welcome to Hot Sauce Anonymous. Okay. Hello, my name's Ash and I like the Dead's Exorcist. Okay, next up. Scream Camp or Scream Camp, The Ritual.
Ooh.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
You know what? I'd say The Ritual.
Wow.
Because it was so unique. It was so unique that
a few people have said,
yeah.
a few people obviously, it was limited to 30 people that came over the 2 nights. And a few people have said that it's a shame that it was only on for a few nights and only a few people got to experience it because they think it could have hands down won a Scar Award. That's a few people have said that. They thought it was that good.
I think there's definitely something in it. Like as far as immersive theatre goes, yeah, it was more than just a scare attraction. You see, I think that was why. Like it ticks my. Like, I love theatre and stuff as well, and I think it ticks that box too.
Yeah.
Which is why it sort of trumped Scream Camp. Oh, I'm choking on that. It was the. I think Scream Camp, intensity wise, yeah, but just yeah, you know how I feel about The Ritual.
Oh yeah, 100%. The Ritual is close to quite a few people's hearts. I know it's yours, Danthorpe, even Mikey, obviously in his video that he did, his scare cam, he said one of the best pieces of immersive theatre he's ever experienced. So yeah, we tick the boxes with that. So I actually put Scream Camp, so I got that wrong. So what am I having? Exorcist. Oh, is that payback now, is it? Okay, so the Exorcist again is the hottest one. Let's get myself a chip. Oh, not myself too many chips.
I'll be honest, I'm just slowly remembering which ones there are, and I'm just.
You got the Source, Jeepers Reapers, Parascobal Activity, Nagamare on Elm Street, The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's it.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Good, mate. That's so lovely. I'm going to kick you in the face. Okay, next up, Spooky World or Hallow Scream?
Hallow Scream.
I put Spooky World.
That was an interesting one. There was just one scare at Hallow Scream last year that got me good, and I think that's what tops it.
Right. Okay. Okay. What sauce am I having?
Jeepers Reapers.
Jeepers Reapers. Jeepers Reapers. So Jeepers Reapers is the second hottest. It's 5 chilies and it's Carolina Reaper peppers with strawberries. Feels like forever that you was on the episode, Ash.
That was when things still weren't normal, were they? But you know, a little bit more normal.
A little bit, yeah. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Okay. Let me get off the table. Okay. Next up, Psychopath or Scream Factory.
Oh, it has to be Scream Factory.
And I pick Scream Factory.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just some charm in Scream Factory.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's more budget in Psychopath and whatever, but Scream Factory is just brilliant fun.
Yeah.
Love it.
Agreed. And wow, that's hot. Okay. I want you to have. I'm going to go with the mildest.
Oh, I've never had the mildest one.
Right, let's go with the mildest.
We'll see what happens like. Habanero, probably fine. I'll put a lot on, don't worry not.
Famous last words. Wow, that's a lot. I don't know if you can see that, but you put a hell of a lot on it. Oh, God, that's hot. How's that?
That's nice. That'd be nice on a burger.
Is that nice?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, next up. Fort Amherst or Primeval?
I've not been to either of them.
Have you not? Right, well,
no.
Take a guess then of what I put.
Oh, based on what I've read on them, I would pick Fort Amherst.
I put Primeval. Right. What am I having?
So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Have you had that one yet? I don't think you have you?
I haven't, no. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is Chipotle. There you go. Not chipolata. With cherries. I'll tell you what, Ash. For me tea before, I had the most beautiful Thai green fish curry. It was.
Did you put any hot sauce on it?
No, I didn't actually. It was hot enough. It was spicy enough. Cheers. This one tastes like a scare attraction. It tastes like Oakville Mine Tour. If you licked a wall.
Is it
Pardon?
Is it the smoky one?
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying there.
If I licked a wall in Oakville Mine Tours, it'd taste like that. Next up, Scaresville or Chessington?
Oh, full bang for your buck. It's got to be Scaresville. Though Chessington last year, I didn't make it this year, but last year was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, Scaresville's my answer to that.
I put Scaresville.
Right.
Okay, hottest one.
Okie dokie. I think I'll probably cry after this. So.
Yes, you will.
There you go. Just prove I'm doing it.
Yeah, especially if you get the next one wrong as well, because if you do, oh, Ash, go on, go for it, yeah, go on. I promise you, I'll never call you a soft southerner anymore.
The question is if I start crying now.
Is that bad?
I'm still the soft southerner.
Is that bad?
Oh, so that goes beyond like nice heat because these are just heat. There's not much flavour to them, so it's just like
oh god. Right, we'll move on quickly for you. Okay, next one: Passage del Terror or the Howl.
Ooh. Passage. I've got a soft spot for Passage.
Me too.
I think Passage.
And I chose Passage del Terror.
Oh.
So I think we're about 50-50 there. But you know
I
what?
think so.
This is the Day of the Dead's Wheelie Hot Sauce Challenge. So Ash from Scare Directory, please have the hottest sauce again.
Fine. Yeah. Oh. And I haven't got any milk. So.
Oh, you don't like any milk? Rookie error. I
No milk in the house. There you go. Right. Hot sauce.
There you go. Down the hatch. I remember when Michael Bolton came on the episode, he didn't tell me that he bought milk and he hid it under the table. So when he had the hot sauces, it ended up me needing to drink his milk. He was all right. Yeah.
I'm absolutely on fire, and I will. I don't know. I'm just going to have to deal with it, aren't I?
There you go. So thank you, Ash, for coming on. Have you enjoyed yourself, buddy?
Yeah, it's been great fun, and I hope some of the smaller attractions have some people sort of check them out next year. That's kind of my the aim of this is to spread the word on the smaller guys.
Yeah, that's true, because at the end of the day, it's not always about the big attractions, you know, your Alton Towers, your Scream Factories, Scare Kingdoms, your Farmageddons. There are little places out there that do put on a fantastic event. So, like I say, listen to what Ash has said of some of the places he's visited this year. Go and check them out next year. Hopefully next year we're back to normality and we can all enjoy the Halloween season and go anywhere we want to in the UK with no restrictions and fully enjoy ourselves. But again, thank you to you guys for watching at home. Please go and subscribe to all our socials at Pumpkin Podcast on Facebook, at Pumpkin_podcast on Twitter, and just at Pumpkin Podcast on Instagram. We'll be back soon with another episode. But Ash, it's been a pleasure, mate. I'll let you go and get some milk. Hope you've enjoyed yourself, buddy. Nice speaking to you, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye.